myself again. But it's the only...
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters. It is Monday night and it is ladies' night. No Katie this week, she's going to be back next week. So we've got Alicia stepping in as always, and got a good panel as always. Samantha's with us, Sav and Kendall as well. And it's a win we're talking about. And Samantha I love the fact the girls are so honest. She said last week, she says, I don't want to go through Groundhog Day and talk about another defeat. But Samantha, you had that week off. You've obviously done a Graeme Jones and you've changed things around and here we are. We're talking about a win. So just let's talk about the win first, because it's not very often we get a chance to talk about the win. What did you make of that performance?
Absolutely superb, brilliant. You know, all we want is energy and endeavour and, you know, passion to wear the shirt, and it was all there. You know, we had 40% possession. Who cares? It's what you do with the ball when you have it. It's about working for your teammates. And that was just there yesterday. You had people filling in. You had options when someone was on the ball. It wasn't a case of, right, well, you've got the ball. The responsibility is all on you, which has been a problem. You could see people, they were close by for, you know, a couple of passes to move the ball a little bit more progressively upfield. So it was everything we were missing. It's all we want. We got a bonus of a second goal. I would have been happy with a 1-0. And I think our performance took Everton by surprise because they just didn't expect energy. They expected that low block and really nothing else. And the fact that we closed them down, we were biting at their heels. There was a real grit. There was dirty little tackles and clips and things happening. And you know, at one point in the first half, towards the end, it got really gritty, and that's all we want, because, you know, we want our team to believe that they can get after teams and they can put a performance in. And for me, it was there yesterday. We could have had more. We were a bit fortunate at times, but it was superb.
Who was your man of the match yesterday?
Oh, I actually don't think that we had a bad performance, bar maybe Lascelles, who went off injured. My standouts, and a lot of people are talking about them, I thought Manquillo was fantastic. He had a real job to be defensively sound because Digne was going to keep hammering us on the left, but he then needed to exploit him being out of position and have a quick transition. So I thought he was superb. Almiron worked his socks off. Callum Wilson scored the goals. So yeah, I mean, look at that. How does that boy put in that much work? But he played with a smile on his face because his teammates got in and around him and he had options. So, you know, for me, it's very, very close between the three of them. But as I said, I couldn't really fault anybody because I just thought it was a superb performance.
Yeah, I would agree. Alicia, you were doing your own match day live on your channel. Give your channel a little plug.
Yep, so it's just as it says there, Alicia FC, that's all it is on YouTube. Yeah,
what did you make of the game?
Oh, absolutely brilliant. I don't know what's changed. I don't know if it's this Graeme Jones effect, but the fought for the badge this week, and it's what I've been saying weekend. We didn't look bothered past weeks. We didn't seem up for it, but this week everybody was digging in for each other, helping each other out. If somebody was left behind, they were pushing each other forward, really, really going for it. And, you know, even before Wilson's goals, we were still in and around. Yeah, he missed a few, but we were still there, getting the chances, getting forward. And honestly, it's just the performance that we've been asking for, just to try. And I completely agree. I would have gone for the 1-0, but to get the 2 was brilliant. And I think in the first half, Everton undermined because the way we've been performing in the past and kind of didn't finish their chances as much and kind of laid off and thought, we'll get to it later on. But we took them to it, and it's something we haven't been doing enough of. And we finally got the chance to do it, pulled ourselves together. You know what? Let's go for this and let's play for the shirt. And it was much better this week, and I'm absolutely over the moon with the way the lads have played.
Could you pick a man of the match yesterday? I mean, there was so many to choose from. I probably agree with Samantha's selection, but I think, it was just a good team performance.
It definitely. If you could give them all, I would. But it was just that heat map of Mickey, how that kid runs around. It was something like over 9.4 kilometres he run the whole game. Like, all like the top performing players in that game were all Newcastle players. And he absolutely ran that game. And again, Wilson, the past few games, hasn't been brilliant, hasn't been finishing his chances, but scored 2 in a great game. So again, it's got to be between Mickey, Wilson, and then Lewis got this performance out of nowhere as well. So much improved by the whole squad, really.
Yeah, Lewis as well. I mean, he's had a bit of criticism of late. Hendrick as well, somebody who I've stuck up for in the early part of the season, but even I was starting to become a bit dismayed at some of his recent performances. But yeah, everybody seemed to come out smelling the roses yesterday. Lascelles, you can judge him, on his previous performances, but yesterday, yeah, he didn't look right, and that injury certainly played its part. Maybe it's something he's been carrying, but Kieran Clark came in and did a great job. So, Sav. Great news on your T-shirt. I've got to be honest, you have to make the decisions when you're running the channel sometimes. And when John sent us this T-shirt, I was a little bit dubious whether to put it up, especially with the way trolls can be. I thought I was going to get hit with some kind of abuse for putting that up, but people took it as tongue-in-cheek, which is good. £120 made for the food bank off that T-shirt. Big shout out to Dave again for spending £120 on that. £120 straight to the food bank. Tongue-in-cheek, good laugh, and I bet you're over the moon that, because to be honest, it was sitting with no bids, and I was a bit concerned, and then I forgot about it at the start of last week, so that didn't help. But then obviously remembered to do it, and yeah, you've got to be over the moon with that. Amazing.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like you say, it's tongue in cheek. I think we're all guilty of sometimes taking life a little bit too seriously. So if we can have a laugh, all the better.
Yeah, good stuff. Excellent stuff. So what was your take on the game at the weekend?
It was amazing, wasn't it? I actually enjoyed myself. I put on Twitter, I can't remember the last time I enjoyed myself whilst watching us play. We were driving from the back. Alicia said about Lewis. He was brilliant. He was like a different player, but I think that shows because in Norwich they play a very different type of football to what we have been playing. And like I said before, he's sort of knees deep in Bruce ball, not knowing what to do. And when we actually switched it on yesterday and started pressing the ball and driving forward, it changed how he played, and it showed a completely different side to him. It was great. It was actually I thought the first sort of 10 minutes, I thought usually we can chase the ball down for the first 10 minutes and then sit back. And we didn't. They just carried on cracking away. Sam said, I think that Everton expected us to turn up with our usual style of play, and it took them by shock that, we played the way that we did. And to see, little arms Pickford on the floor looking really upset sort of topped it off for me yesterday. It was actually a really great. I just hope that the consistency stays there and that we continue to play this way, because it has dropped off before. But hopefully, I don't know if the new coach Graeme Jones, he was really vocal on the sidelines from what I could see, and really supportive. And I think that is what we have been lacking. I know that who was it who said that apparently they'd watched. I was half asleep last night. Watched my match of the day, and Steve Bruce was doing the same. Luke Edwards, was it? Yeah. I mean, I didn't see that. I didn't watch Match of the Day last night, but I didn't see that when I watched the match. But I think that Graeme Jones looks like he's been a great addition, and hopefully, long may it continue. Yeah.
Man of the match for you, Sav?
Oh, Fabian Schär. No, I'm joking.
What do you mean? He was one of mine.
Yeah, no, he was, but for all reasons. But yeah, I think for me, just because of the dramatic change in the way his style of playing, it'd be Jamal Lewis for me. I just think that he was just like a completely different player out there yesterday.
No, it's a fair shout, and as I say, his heat map there shows. He had a really good game, and just slightly different way of setting up, different way of coaching. We'll come to that next after we've heard Kendall's views on the match at the weekend. What was your take on that display at Everton? A double over Everton this season. Not very often we get doubles over anybody.
From Everton, can you believe it? I honestly can't. Yesterday, I didn't even know how to go about my day. I didn't know how to act. I was like, yeah, I'm actually like happy for once. It's early kick-off, weekend's not ruined. Like, genuinely didn't know how to handle that feeling yesterday. Like, I was absolutely buzzing. It was just we looked yesterday not like the dejected team we looked like the past couple of months. Like, their heads were held high. They knew what they were doing. There wasn't two players going for the same ball at the same time. Everyone had their positions. Obviously, I know we'll get into it shortly, but the formation and the style of play that we played yesterday was very indicative of Roberto Martinez's way of playing when Graeme Jones was assistant manager. So like a 4-3-3. Obviously it worked. Everyone knew where they were meant to be. Callum Wilson, again, looked really, really good yesterday. I was kind of slightly worrying, thinking, oh, God, like, he's going to be a flop, and he isn't. Like, I was thinking that we're just going to ruin him. He's going to be Bruce, like Ben Arthur was Pardew. Lewis looked phenomenal yesterday. So glad for the kid. I really, really am. Everyone just had a really, really, really good game, and honestly, I'm hard pushed to find a negative, so it's good because I don't want to find a negative. Got to hit positives, got to kick on now. Make sure this form continues. You know, we stick with our stronger starting 11, if you will. Whether or not Dubravka gets back in, that's a whole other kettle of fish because I really don't know. I wouldn't like to be choosing, to be honest. So, yeah, it was just really, really good. And as I say, man of the match, Callum Wilson, Fabian Schär. It could be anyone, really, to be honest. Almiron. It could have been anyone yesterday. Really, really could have been anyone.
Could it have been Graeme Jones? Obviously, I've got
love him.
I've got a poll up on Twitter. Now, look, it's quite funny because I did a show yesterday with Ian Mearns where somebody put on Twitter, they put my pre-Graeme Jones views and then me after Graeme Jones views. And yeah, I said his CV's awful. You know, he hasn't got a great CV. He specialises in relegation and hadn't done very well at Luton Town. However, he's walked into our football club by the looks of it, and obviously he was at the Leeds game. He was quick to get down into the dressing room at half time and have a few words. I think most of us felt we played better in the second half against Leeds than we did in the first half. In his first competitive match on the sidelines with Steve Bruce, we win 2-0. We keep a clean sheet. You know, our players look a lot more determined. There's a lot more effort and a lot more joy. I felt, you know, he's clearly had an effect. So the poll so far on my Twitter is, I simply put, was the Newcastle win down to the arrival of the new coach Graeme Jones? At the time of doing this show, I've had nearly 2,700 votes. 84% of the fans think yes, 16% say no. What do you make of that, Samantha? Has he had a direct effect, or, you know, are we jumping to conclusions here? Is it Steve Bruce's new gloves off approach?
You know, we will not know for certain. You know, the only people that know for certain are the people in the coaching staff and the players on the pitch. If I look at it objectively, which is generally what I like to do in life,
yeah,
we have played a certain way for 18 months. We have had a certain mentality, and we had not won in, 11, 12 games, whatever it was. If he went into the dressing room at Leeds, there was a change for whatever reason. And when he came onto the coaching staff, we have put in a performance with a setup that we have not done before. So you can either say that finally the penny has dropped, which is what I think Luke Edwards tried to say. Okay, you can say that. Or you can say that there is now a voice in the dressing room that the players want to listen to, which is what I'm more inclined to think. When you look at those pictures from yesterday, and Bruce does, bubble along on the sidelines, I wouldn't pay any attention to him either. He's always done that. But when you looked at what the new coach was doing, there was so much more to it. It was so much more animated. He had a tactic sheet that he had already gone through with the players. He had, really set them up, and they listened to him. And when you look at the difference of what he was doing versus Steve Agnew, even Ben Dawson, Steve Bruce, they were all standing up, which I thought was ridiculous. But he looked the most animated and the most engaged in getting the players to do what it was that they needed to. So I think he's had an impact. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and you will have the pro-Bruce and the anti-Bruce camps, and you can't do anything about that. So I think he's had an impact. All I want is to see our team win. I want them to fight for the shirt, and if it takes for Graeme Jones to be coming in as a fake manager, assistant manager, whatever he is, and achieve that, that's fine by me. As I said, we won't know. we'll hear whispers and we'll have bits and pieces leak out of the club, but ultimately the only people that can tell you the answer are the coaching staff and the players.
Okay, Alicia, it was interesting to see that. I mean, I just screen grabbed that yesterday, but it was the first moment where the cameras panned on to Graeme Jones getting up off the bench, and he stood in front of Bruce and did that. And I mean, you can take a picture at any time, but I thought that was quite significant. Bruce didn't look happy. He didn't look happy that he was being upstaged by this new guy. Second half I didn't see as much of that. I saw Bruce and Steve Agnew doing a lot of it. Do you think there was a little bit of beef between them?
I don't think so, but I think if you look at it, the fact that if you're a manager, somebody's come in and kind of took the limelight off you and looks like he's really trying to do something, it looked like it would irritate you a little bit. Obviously, it's speculation and it's what we think. And let's go back to when Bruce first said the gloves were off. We were getting beat left, right and centre. After Villa, half of them were crying, looking like we got relegated. Leeds, we still didn't look great until, as we say, the second half we looked better when Graeme Jones may have went in at half time. And then all of a sudden this week, we look up for it, we're fighting for it. So how come that mood change from Villa to now, and the only thing that's changed is Graeme Jones stepping into that dressing room? That to me speaks volumes of that they want to listen to him. He's obviously motivating and inspiring him. Maybe it is the Geordie PR stunt. Maybe he's gone in and gone, look, this is what the team means to the people of Newcastle. This is what you're missing because you haven't got fans in the stadium. You haven't got anybody reminding you of that. I'm going to come in and tell you how it is and how we need to perform for the fans that can't be in the stadiums. And I think he has had a brilliant effect, and long may it continue. It may go to pot next week, but if it continues, then fair play, because to be fair, I wrote him off before he came in and he's changed my mind already.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with having an opinion before someone arrives, and then having an opinion if somebody has an effect. And look, one win doesn't change things massively. It's because we've been on such a bad run that this win is very significant and very important. We need to build on this, don't we, Alicia? We need to make sure that the next two games against Crystal Palace tomorrow night and then Southampton, we get something. Ideally 6 points would be great. I'd settle for 4. But 6 points would be great in the next two games.
Yeah, I always look at Crystal Palace and Southampton as teams that we need to beat, and I should stop looking at it that way because at times they are so much better than us. But I always see it the old way that they're bottom half table teams and we should be beating them. But we look at what Southampton done to us last time. We should be getting points from these. It is the easier teams that we've got before we get into a really difficult run of like Man United and teams like that. So we need to be picking up these points. It's vital for us in this time of the season to get on a good run before things get difficult, because if we do hit those tough games, the morale could easily switch back to that Villa one where we're down on the pitch and we look like we've been relegated again. So hopefully it continues. That's the only thing that's going to prove to me that it's worked and that it continues over the past couple of weeks. But so far, so good, and I'm really proud of what we've brought this week and really motivated by that as well.
Yeah, me too. John from QTech was proud as well. He was quick into action again, as he always is with various things. He's got his T-shirt ready for the food bank, which is Graeme Jones and Raiders of Goodison Park. Honestly, some of these designs. But yeah, that'll be his T-shirt next week. We do have a food bank T-shirt up for grabs this week though, and it's a big thank you to Mark Byers, who's a regular watcher of the show, lives in America now. He sent over a T-shirt and a cap for us to auction off for the food bank. This again is a one-off. He's designed it himself and got it printed and sent over from the US. It's got all the shows on the back, including Ladies Night, and has the blue star on the front, NUFC Matters, etc. It's a one-off. He's had it printed and he's given it to us, and that is up for grabs at the minute. And I think the latest bidding on it was around about £100 already. So great stuff. Again, just we're hedging very slowly towards raising almost £2,000 with these T-shirts, which is a simple idea from QTech. Q-Tech. Big shout out to him. And also a big shout out to him for the matchday bucket which he came up with, which the food bank has taken on. And I believe they reached £1,000 after 1 week with the matchday bucket with that app. So well done to, again, John from Q-Tech for that. And a big shout out to our sponsors coming to the end of their sponsorship now. Old Coach House Distillery.co.uk, the world's first alcohol-free distillery. Visit their website and enter the code OCHD to claim your introductory 10% discount and get the most out of your mindful dry January. Also a big shout out to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend and Newcastle, and of course the makers of our t-shirts. And a big shout out to John from Jab, who has recovered from his car accident, I'm pleased to say, and is back firing on all cylinders. But big shout out to him for doing all the flyers and posters that he does for us. So Sav, Graeme Jones. It was interesting. Twitter on, after the match, a lot of people were paying tribute to him. Graeme Jones's black and white army, etc. What effect do you think he had?
Well, I think you could just see, just from watching, when the camera panned over, like Sam said, he was really animated. It was, for me, it looked like it was boosting our players, which is something that they've been lacking for such a long time, especially with fans out of the stadium. I think they've obviously really missed that as well. It was interesting to see Steve Bruce and that picture that you posted up as well, because I was thinking about this yesterday. And obviously when they appointed him last week, they did a video of him chatting, and they don't usually do that for, a coach. It was like we've been appointed a new manager. And I can imagine that maybe on some level that's put, Steve Bruce's nose out of joint a little bit, because I think if it was me, it probably would with me. But it was interesting, and I do think there was a change that had happened. The only thing that had changed was Graeme Jones being appointed, and the pictures from him at the training ground showing them tactics. Like, when was the last time we did tactics? It all looked actually, he's had a real positive impact. But I was the same as you. I was a bit meh when he got appointed, because it was just like, oh, great. But, I'll stand, when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I think that actually it's been really good for the players to have some, fresh eyes on, a fresh opinion, and, outsider coming in who can make the changes that maybe wasn't being seen. I don't know why they weren't being seen, but yeah, I can imagine Steve Bruce. I mean, when he was questioned about it last weekend, he refused to answer that question and sort of pied off the media. So that made him look a little bit muggy from the start. So yeah, I think he probably isn't 100% happy about it, but it couldn't carry on like it was. So I think, yeah, long may it continue.
Yeah, I would agree, and you're right about the PR, etc. He was suited and booted, and it was a very, very big announcement for another coach coming in, wasn't it? And I can imagine. I think you're right. I think if that was me, I would probably have my nose pushed out of joint.
Yeah, that was how I felt about it. And just looking at Steve Bruce's body language, towards him yesterday, how he acted about the whole appointment in general, refusing to comment on it. It all looked a little bit like, I can understand why you would feel that way, the way it was all announced and, the video that was put out. So, yeah, I just think maybe he's not too pleased about it. I don't think it's anything too dramatic, and I doubt they'll be having fisticuffs on the side of the pitch at any time soon. But yeah, I can imagine he's probably a little bit less than pleased, because, usually those sort of charades are reserved for the manager.
I did see his interview prior to the game yesterday, Steve Bruce's, and he emphasised that he was a fan, and I've never heard him say that he was a fan of Newcastle before, but that was an interesting thing I took out of it. Normally, it's assumed that he is, but he said, I'm a fan of Newcastle. So, it almost felt there was a bit of, Lee Marshall, who's the head of media, I think he's driving a narrative a little bit. You need to say this and you need to say that, because it's been a bad week for him, a bad 2 weeks for him, I suppose, with PR, especially with banning the media. But we'll look at that, I'm sure, at some point. Kendall, Graeme Jones, has he had a big effect, do you think, or do you think it is down to maybe he's Bruce, maybe he's changing his ideas, changing his philosophy, and doing what he said he was going to do, take the gloves off?
Well, as we've all said, the only change from that Aston Villa game has been Graeme Jones. That is single-handedly the only change that's been made. Pretty much the last 2 games, obviously the teams stayed relatively the same, just with 1 or 2 changes. So whether that's, and we all know he loves changing formation, he loves changing players. So that can't be his idea, because like he hasn't had that idea for a year and a half. So why would that suddenly in 2 weeks be his sudden turn of heart and like him to do that? So that's why I don't think it's him. Obviously, I think Graeme Jones has definitely had some sort of influence. I kept calling him Golden Graham yesterday, getting a bit carried away because it was like the best thing I'd seen in weeks. But I mean, look, I don't care what anybody says. I guarantee pretty much 95%, if not more, of Newcastle fans who are invested in it thought it was a weird appointment to get another assistant manager or another coach in with an already overstocked coaching staff. It was a weird decision. And then when you look at it, we took him from Bournemouth, who were a championship side. He was at Swansea. The very first coaching job we took was at Swansea, obviously with Roberto Martinez. They were in League One at the time. Got relegated with Wigan, got relegated with West Brom, went to Everton where Martinez was sacked. So the only like high profile job and coaches he's worked with and players was the Belgian national team. So I don't care what anyone says, that CV realistically on the outset when you're a Premier League club trying to avoid relegation is like, oh, okay, that's like red flag, because he's literally just been around relegation aside from the Belgian national team. Or seconds, things like that. He's come in, obviously, as we say, the only change has been him. There's been a formation that we haven't played before, indicative of the Martinez era when he was, around and coaching. And the only time he wasn't around him was when he left the Belgian national team for West Brom under Darren Moore. And that formation's come into play what we haven't been playing before. It's worked. So I don't really think Steve Bruce had anything to do with it, if I'm honest. I think he's probably Graeme Jones has oversaw the decisions. Steve Bruce has kind of gone, okay, yeah, let's try it. I mean, what else have we got to lose at this point? And it's worked. So I really do think he's had an influence. It's a short time, so people's going to say, oh, we can't do that much. I mean, it's quite simple to, involve a formation. It's quite simple to say, right, play this formation. Callum Wilson looked a great deal better with help around him yesterday, not a single sole striker as we've seen for however long since he signed. Like, just simple changes like that has just made the difference completely. And even like we kept saying that don't play Jamal Lewis in a back 4. Yesterday was fine in a back 4 because he had the assistance of a mid 3, and it allowed Hayden to kind of drop back and to like for defensive cover, and Jamal Lewis to move forward, which, as we've seen on the heat map, he was all up the the left hand side. So it's just simple changes that have made an absolute massive difference that could have been made months ago and they haven't been. So therefore, that's why I just think it was obviously Graeme Jones's input. I don't think it could have been much of Steve Bruce's, because as I say, we would have seen it prior. So yeah, I just hope it continues and we're not back to like crying on Tuesday over ridiculous things. And plus, we play Southampton on my birthday on Saturday, so I really, really hope a lockdown birthday and a beating of Southampton. Very, very hope that doesn't happen.
Well, nearly 3,000 votes on my Twitter poll, and it's still very, very convincing. A lot of people feel that the arrival of Graeme Jones had a lot to do with the win, 84% to 16%, and don't think there's going to be much budging on that. Let's talk about Joelinton, Samantha. Unfortunately, social media can be a bit of a nightmare if you decide to post a photograph of yourself getting your hair done when you're not supposed to be during lockdown. Look, he's not the first person, he's not the last person that's going to be caught out in this situation. Bit daft, wasn't it, really, putting it on social media?
Yeah, I mean, he's an idiot. And not for the reason that the barber said he's an idiot, but I'll let Kendall cover that when we get to her. I don't know why he put it on social media. You have to, when you're in a position of privilege, think about the fact that you are, think about what the country's going through, and he should have known better. Yes, we see that people have fresh trims. Let's just pretend that their partners have taken an online course and watched some YouTube videos and learned how to cut their hair, rather than the other side, which is that because they have money, they can go and do things that the rest of the country can't. or might be, but aren't making that known to everyone. The only thing that I would say is that I don't think he should have been on the bench, to be honest. And that's not because I don't want him particularly to be at the club, but I think it would have shown a better message for him to sit out yesterday. You know, I don't know what action the club are going to take, but even if they fine him like 10 grand, 20 grand, whatever, I don't think that's the punishment. The punishment is you shouldn't be visible in this squad to show that the club has taken this seriously. Doesn't matter if he was only in a barber's for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whether they were socially distanced or not. It's the message that it sends. So that's my only critique, is I don't think he should have been in the squad. That should have been punishment. But yeah, again, we know people are doing these things, but think about the position that you're in and what it looks like when people around you are suffering because of the COVID situation.
Yeah, I would agree. What's your take on that, Alicia?
Yeah, there's always something at Newcastle. Like, we can't just have a nice weekend and enjoy a win. There's always something to bring me back down again. And I was really surprised that he was on the bench. I feel like the club should have, I completely agree with Sam, I feel like the club should have took it a lot more seriously. At the end of the day, you're already getting paid thousands of pounds a week to play a match of football. People have lost their jobs, people have lost livelihoods, people have lost family members, friends, and yet it's fine for you to go and get your hair cut and post it all over social media. I think it was extremely naive. I think it should be investigated properly. I don't think he should even be anywhere near the team at the minute. I think they should be hiding them away as best as possible, because it is embarrassing from our point of view that he, for some reason, feels like he's against the rules that everybody else has to follow. And it's happened a lot in this kind of celebrity social media world, that people are going out to Dubai and things like that and think they can get away with it and do things because the celebrities are, it just winds me up. It really winds me up. It really does. And I really hope the club take it seriously, but obviously by putting them on the bench the other day, they're obviously not. So nothing's probably going to come of it.
Yeah, I would agree. Sab, what's your take on the whole Joelinton breaching COVID regulations?
Oh, just of all the players, why Joelinton? Do you know what I mean? He's had so much flack, and then he did that. I saw it pop up on his Insta stories when he initially posted it, and I was like, why have you put that there? I swear you're not allowed to go out and get a haircut. But yeah, I think that I agree with Sam. He shouldn't have been near the squad, because all the COVID problems we've had in the club, he should have been stuck in isolation for a couple of weeks like everyone else would have to do. I didn't really see why he was on the bench yesterday. And, from a personal level, I'm fuming, because look what I'm contending with at the moment. And I've got to get my own bleach bowl out and get that sorted out. And there's Joelinton, not only going and getting his hair done, but bragging about it. So, yeah, I wasn't the best pleased. But, yeah, I definitely think, I think he should have been stuck in isolation. The problem with giving him a fine is that's pocket money to him, 10, 20 grand. He's on, 80 grand a week or something like that? It's just, I don't really think a fine sends out the right message. Will we hear what punishment he gets? I don't know. Probably not. It'll probably just be brushed under the carpet and we'll move on, which is a shame, because I think that, if it is someone high profile, it should be dealt with and shown that there is punishment for it, because otherwise everyone else, it's like the Dominic Cummings thing. As soon as that happened, everyone just stopped abiding by the rules, because like, oh, well, he's obviously exempt, so why should we bother? And it's a really serious situation. So many people are dying, and we have all got to stick to the rules. And I think it's a real shame. I went over to see my dad yesterday, and he's like a plastic Man United fan. He doesn't really pay attention to football. And the first thing he came out with was, did you hear that Newcastle player went and got a haircut? So it's gone. People are hearing about it, and it reflects badly on the club. And the appropriate action should be taken. Will it be? I highly doubt it.
Yeah. Kendall, what's your take on Joelinton's active stupidity?
That's exactly what it was. It was absolutely tone deaf. In this current climate right now, for you to be, flaunting on social media Like, you haven't lost your job, you haven't lost your livelihood like other people have. Like, you clearly haven't lost family members, otherwise you wouldn't be taking it as unserious as you are. Like, I don't care that you went and got a haircut. I literally don't care. It's the fact that he thought it was acceptable and that he was above everything, posting it on social media, that's what's bugged me. And then for that actual barber to come out, do an interview and be like, you know, barbers have had a really hard time and I've got to keep my shop open and I've got to keep my bills paid. Oh, poor little barbers. So you're going to break the rules and allow millionaires to come into your shop to pay your bills when there's probably shops next to either side of you who can't pay their own bills, who are struggling. And then he sat and called, well, I don't know if it was quote for quote, but in the article, he apparently called Joelinton an idiot for going in. I'm thinking the hypocrisy is just so unbelievable. And I just feel like this is why people that aren't taking it seriously. This is why we're in the situation that we are. Yes, we can blame the government and Boris and whatever and get all political. And yes, that's half true. But when you've got people who are consistently flaunting the rules, do not care about anybody else, like Joelinton, they obviously weren't social distance, because to be 2 meters away from someone giving a haircut, you're going to have to be on the end of a broom. You're going to have to have your scissors on the end of a broom chopping hair. Like, you're not social distancing, even if you are wearing a mask. And then he's going to now go to training with people around him who have got probably his family members staying with them, who've got children. Like, it's just, he's got children himself and a relatively young baby. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And as I say, I don't care if you're going to get your hair cut. I literally couldn't care less as long as you're not coming near me. But, like, just stop bragging and stop thinking you're above everybody else because you have the right to, like, you have the opportunity to go and get your hair cut. It's just stupid. And as Sav says, like, why him? Why he did that, knowing that he's not popular, he's not, you know, rated by Newcastle fans in terms of a player sense, and people will find anything to abuse him for. This just propelled him into absolute hatred even more. And, like, surely that's the last thing you'd want. I don't understand, but I could rant on about it all day, honestly, but that's his own fault. And as we say, the club aren't clearly taking it that serious, because he was still involved and he was still visible for the world to see. So that just makes us look like a laughingstock, which is no change, really, considering we always are a laughingstock from everybody else. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's. It is a pre-recorded show, so obviously we can't talk about this with the people in the chat tonight, unfortunately. But it is transfer deadline day today, and the transfer window is closed. We're recording this on Sunday, but we do know that DeAndre Yedlin has left the club, gone to Galatasaray. There is also talk, of course, of Matt Ritchie returning to Bournemouth, which. I'm really disappointed about losing him at this stage of the season, because I think he would have been vital in the running. But let's talk about the transfer window, Samantha. Are you sad to see Yedlin go? What's your take on Matt Ritchie? Other rumours, whether they've surfaced on Monday and things have developed. Sean Longstaff was potentially going to go to Valencia, but that seems to have been squashed now because it was only going to be a loan deal. Dwight Gale, has he left the club today? Possibly. What are you hoping for? On the incomings and outgoings.
So Yedlin, yes, I'm sad because I like Yedlin. I think he's a good attacking fullback. You need to use him correctly. The club treated him absolutely appallingly towards the end for a player that gave us such good service. Being in the Championship, being quite a good key player for Rafa as well, the way that he had to set up. Not to even call him back around his contract. Whatever visa issue happened, whoever's fault that was, what a sad end to somebody that really worked hard for our club. I wish him the best at Galatasaray. I hope he's treated with more respect than he managed to get towards the end of his time with us. Matt Ritchie, I'm not that fussed, to be honest. Sorry, Sav. I don't know why we gave him a new contract. He's on a big wage, and we've moved him around so much that I don't know what his best position is anymore. And we've done that to players in the past. Is he a better wing back, left midfielder, right attacking midfielder? And when you move a player about so much, he becomes a utility player. But I think he's better than a lot of options that we have? No. And at the point that we are as a club where we have to penny pinch and we need to release funds to bring people in, then I think there's a more pressing need for some positions. And therefore, if somebody's interested in him, he has to go rather than have that big wage and sit on our bench. And he hasn't even been coming on, which has frustrated him. And I think he does need to play, and I think he will be a good addition. I just don't think that's with us. I saw the Sean Longstaff rumour. Again, my thoughts around Sean and Matty are they need to play. We are destroying people's development in this club year in, year out. I don't know what's happened with Sean. If he's had a falling out with Bruce and it's going to take time to heal, let him go and play somewhere else, because he's going to be there after Bruce is. I don't want to see him sold. If he goes to Valencia and he gets a different experience, fair enough, but not with a clause where they can buy him for 15 million. I see fans saying snap their hands off for 15 million. I don't think that's fair. I think we all saw that he has potential, but we all see that the way that he's played under Bruce doesn't work. Although this new formation that's been implemented, where there is enough defensive cover in that diamond, I think that'll suit Sean. I really do. So we'll see what happens with that. In terms of players coming in, who knows? I mean, you're getting the magic 8-ball out to make decisions. I'm more excited about players going out than anyone coming in, because I honestly think with whatever's happened with the takeover, there's a couple of rumours that might be something that's coming in the next X amount of weeks. We just need to get to another 5 wins, maybe a couple of draws. So do we just stick with what we've got? And we've said it since the start. I think we have a decent squad. I think you just need to play the players in the right position and give them the right instructions. And we will, I said at the start of the season, finish 12th, because I feel like we have the squad for that. So Yedlin out, Richie out, maybe the midfielders, the Longstaffs on loan if you're not going to play them because they need it. Anyone coming in, God, I don't know. Lingard was the top transfer target, and I just thought, I think you would do a job when you compare it to what we have, but I'm not sure. The guy from Leicester, don't really know him. Wilcock, not sure. Maitland-Niles, yes, because he's got versatility. But, who wants to come to us? That's the thing. That win might change people's opinion of the grim football that we try to play. But, the reality check for me at the minute is who wants to come and play football for us that's going to improve the squad. Don't know.
Yep. Okay. Good stuff. Alicia, what's your take on the transfer window?
Well, I knew that was going to happen anyway. But it's disappointing to see the end to Yedlin. I don't believe he deserved that. The problems he's had the past couple of weeks in terms of not knowing whether he's coming or going with contracts, visas. He was a vital player for us when we were down and out in the Championship and coming back up, and he was really good. And ever since Bruce came in, he was kind of like sideline, like, we'll deal with you later. Kind of, it's the feeling that I'm getting from him. Like, he's like, we'll find somebody to fit your position, we'll deal with you later, kind of thing. I have this, I don't know, I just love Matt Ritchie. I know everybody else hates him, and the majority of people don't want him here. I don't know, I've just got this thing with Matt Ritchie, and I don't know if it again comes from the Rafa era. He was one of the players that used to dig out results for when get involved. Like, he just ran screaming at players just for the hell of it and just got involved and got in. I don't know if I'm kind of that Newcastle fan that likes that kind of like 2-foot tackle kind of thing, and I love how involved Ritchie gets. Again, if Gale goes, that could leave us short if something, God forbid, was to happen to Wilson. Joelinton's not good enough to come in and fill that space. Gale, again, I feel like could play well as a plan B along with Murphy, but it never happens. If it's going to be taking up wage bills and we know he's not going to play, I'd rather go and see him play somewhere else. I think it's obvious he's not going to get played as much as I want him to be. And if it's taking up wages where we could be better spent, get rid. In terms of Chowdhury coming in, I don't want to see him anywhere near this team if Richie's still here, because I feel like that could create problems. There's already a bit of between them two, which I feel like some people might have forgot about. I haven't forgot about that one. I will never forget that one. That could have been a career-ending injury. And I feel like if Richie's still here, that could create a bit of animosity when we've just started to get that nice balance of everybody playing together again. I don't know if I just cannot see anybody coming in, and it's disappointing that Jetro Willems should have been our biggest target. Not Jesse Lingard, no one like that. Jetro Willems has played in this team and was absolutely brilliant. Look at the way he played against Liverpool and teams like that, the big teams. He dug out, and we've got real defensive problems left, right, and centre with injuries at the minute. We should have been going for Willems, and he came out and went, but he hasn't had enough game time. Yeah, but you're going for Lingard, you're going for players that haven't had any game time as well. I just don't understand that one. I don't think Willems would have been a risk, because we know what he can do. He's played within this team of players. It's not as much of a risk as he's making it out to be, saying he hasn't had enough game time. Get him in the team when we need a player like him to help us dig out results. But nobody will come in my opinion. And I wouldn't be surprised if we probably let some good players go as well.
Okay. Sav, your take on the transfer window, which is closing tonight at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, I think Joelinton was really, had the dirty done on him by the club with regards to, especially like the past. He just started playing for us again on a regular basis, and then the club cuts contact with him, and he doesn't know what's going on. And I find that, that's really muggy, and I don't really understand why they did that to him. And to be fair, I'm kind of glad that he's got out of it and gone somewhere, hopefully better, where he'll be treated better. Matt Ritchie, I think everyone knows I'm fuming about that. I just feel like he's not being given the chance, and he's just one of those footballers, like Alicia said. He really mucks in, and he really does try, his hardest. I know it's not all about trying. I just really like him as a footballer and as a person, and I'm kind of gutted that, after the rumours that were when, Wilson and Ryan Fraser joined of him leaving, I thought, oh, brilliant, now he's going to stay, and then it's just come back round to surface in the next transfer window. I hope he doesn't go. I've heard that he didn't want to leave, but how true that was, I'm not sure. But I hope he stays. I think the only one that I've seen rumoured, I don't want Chowdhury. He can get stuffed. I don't want him in our club. But the one that the rumour that I did like was Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I think he could be really good for us. But as Sam said, is he going to want to play for us? Probably not. Which is a shame, because I think he's, a real versatile player, and I think he's being played right back at Arsenal at the moment, and he wants to play in midfield. And I think, if we're going on weaknesses, maybe not so much yesterday, but that we have been struggling with, it's been in that central midfield. But I do also agree that we do need to get rid of some dead wood from our side. We've got so many sitting on the wage list, so it's really difficult. I'd like to see us get one in. Whether or not we do, it remains to be seen.
Yeah, Dwight Gale, Kendall. Lots of rumours about him as well. Will he, won't he leave? Not getting a game. Similar to Matt Ritchie, stuck on the bench. Why would he stay around?
You wouldn't, would you? You want game time. As one of them players, you want game time. I would not blame him if he left. I would not have any hard feelings whatsoever towards either of them. Obviously, I think it's very unfortunate that Gale, who could really be a solid addition when Wilson isn't playing, or if we're resting Wilson, or when Carroll's not really being involved, I don't think Dwight Gale's a bad option to have on the bench at all. But obviously he wants to play. He's good enough to play. And in my opinion, if he leaves, then that's absolutely credit to him, because again, it's really not been his fault that he hasn't played. Same with Matt Ritchie. We all love Matt Ritchie just due to the fact that he's passionate, and he's one of them players who I feel from the very beginning understood the club and understood the fans surrounding the club, and the way we want a player to be at the club. And he's always shown the passion, he's always shown the fight, been there in some important situations for us. And I'll be sad to see him go for sentimental reasons, but again, another one, he really needs game time. Obviously he's given up his international career now, so club career is all he has, so I don't blame him for leaving for game time either. As for Steve Bruce and his top targets, well, Jesse Lingard is a top target now. Today, apparently, it's Joe Willock is his top target. I think he's just going to tell everyone that he's top target, so wherever he gets signed, he'll be signing Bloomin' whoever, and he'll say, "Oh, this was my top target," and I'm like, okay. I think he's just like literally whoever comes in, he's like, "Yep, that was my top target." But I don't want Joe Willock. I think he's slow. He runs in mud. I don't see the point in him coming in whatsoever, or what he provides at all. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, I would absolutely love. I think it'd be great signing. To be honest, I didn't really understand in terms of signing, but I asked on Twitter the other day. I said to Arsenal fans, I mean, I follow several Arsenal fans and personally know several, and every single one of them agreed and said he would offer so much versatility. He's great at getting the ball forward, but he's also great defensively because he can kind of play right back. He wants to play centre mid, which again, as I've said, that's a weakness in our side. It would be great to have that option there. And I really think he's a type of player who could do bits for us. But I think there's like players we've missed out on, for example, like Jesse Lingard. Obviously, he rejected Newcastle. There's Damari Gray, who is I really rate, or did rate when he was playing more regularly. There's several players we could bring in, and I don't think we will. Apparently, we were after that Celtic player. I can't remember his name, and Matcher or something. But there's been no official bid lodged for him, as far as I'm aware. And as for Yedlin, I just think the way he's being treated is disgusting, but it's no surprise by this club. We've treated several players like that in the past, let them go out the door without giving them any explanation or any communication from the club. It really is no surprise. It's absolutely indicative of the Mike Ashley era. I'm sad for him, I really am, because I do think there's a player there. He's still only 27 years old, so he's still got a lengthy time at club level left. He's a USA men's international. I am really, really sad to see him go, genuinely. I think he's better than Kraft there. I think he plays better than Murphy as a right wing back. Obviously, the only person I'd probably have over him is Manquillo. So if you're not bringing another right back in... I
made a little mess.
Oh, right, great. A little mess. Great. I've got looking forward to cleaning that up. But yeah, I would, personally, for me, he's like second choice, if not first choice, depending on what formation you play. So I am sad to see him go. I really will follow his career in Turkey, and I hope that he cracks it there. I mean, the Turkish league's getting some decent players. They've already got Cisse and Demba Ba. Ozil's just gone there. Yedlin's gone there. The Turkish league's going to be a one to watch, I think, for the next coming season. So yeah, I wish him good luck. I don't have anything negative to say about the man. I really don't.
Do you want to go and quickly look at that mess while we get to Samantha and start to...
She's only in her bedroom. It's all right. She's just got like
all right.
several teddies all over the floor.
I'm just picturing like a glass of water over your TV or something like.
Right, okay. She's drink in her room for that reason, because
all right.
feed her teddies and that's not a good idea.
Well, we've got two games, Samantha, before we have ladies' night again. We've got Crystal Palace, we've got Southampton. How do you see those two games going? Let's finish off with that.
It's difficult to say. If we go in with the same drive, if we pick it, this is my answer, this is the way that we're going to play, then I can see us beat Palace, but I can't see us beating Southampton. With this run of 4 games, I'd said at the start of it, I thought we would get 4 points. Again, I didn't really know where the points were going to come from, but I thought we'd get 4. We've got 3. So I think with the energy, if we have no other injuries, I think it's good that Lascelles isn't going to play, to be honest. I'm happier to see Clark in there. If we set up the same and match Palace's energy, especially their forward players, they've got a lot of energy in there with the young guy they got from QPR with Saha. I think we can get a result. Are we at home? I can't remember.
Yeah, 2 home games.
Yeah, so I think familiar surroundings. We have a chance, maybe a 1-0 against Palace. If that breeds confidence into the game against Southampton, we might have a chance. But Southampton are on fire at the minute, and they were so unlucky against Villa. I mean, I watched the highlights of it. I didn't watch it live. And the goal mouth scrambles, the chances that they put over the bar from Armstrong, from Redmond, I mean, Ings as well, that offside, absolutely ridiculous VAR decision. They're just so good. They move the ball so quick. They're so creative. If we play the same as we did against Southampton, as we did in the game on Saturday, we'll have a chance. We need to be a bit aggressive. We need to, you know, have little nips and tackles and, you know, really get after them. But as I said, I think we'll get a result against Palace, maybe a 1-0. But I think Southampton will be too much for us.
Okay, Alicia, your predictions for these two games coming up?
Yeah, I'm hoping for 4 points. I'll regret saying that now. I think we can, if we go in with the same mentality of Crystal Palace, look what we did at Selhurst Park. We're capable of it. We've just come off the back of a really good win. Take that into that game. Boost, we're full of confidence. I think we can get a win against Palace. I'm hoping we can. Southampton has always been a team we've struggled against and probably will always be. And I'm hoping for a draw from Southampton, but I can't see it happening because if they're out to see out what happened against the game against the other day and get revenge kind of on that in the next few games, they're going to be up for it. They're going to see us as a team they can beat. And I don't know, I always struggle to see where we're going to beat Southampton. I never think that we can. So I'm hoping that we can get 4 points. Tomorrow, I think Tuesday's game, I think I'm going to go for a confident 2-0, 2-1. Southampton will either be a draw or probably a 1 or 2-0 at Southampton.
Okay. Sav, your take?
Yeah, I think that, you know, as long as we carry on playing like we did yesterday, I think that we can probably churn out a win against Crystal Palace. You know, we won against them last time we saw them, you know, face them. So I can't see why we can't. I'll say that and we'll turn up and play that utter dross again and we'll all be miserable. But, yeah, I agree with Southampton. I think that, you know, if we do manage to grind out a win against Crystal Palace, we're going to turn up at, you know, at Southampton. Well, it's home game, isn't it? They'll turn up at St James's Park and I think they'll turn us over. I just think, you know, they're forward players against our defence. I think that all sort of, you know, as we've said, we don't have. I always get nervous about playing Southampton just because, you know, we never seem to do very well. So yeah, I think 3 points. Hopefully, I just hope that we carry on playing. I think that's just the one worry is that we're going to, you know, turn up and not play like we did because we're so inconsistent. As you like, all us fans have got trust issues now, but hopefully. Hopefully 3 points. I'm hoping. If anything else is, you know, bonus, but 3 points. I would hope.
Okay, Kendall. Last but not least, your feelings about these two games coming up.
So at Crystal Palace, I feel like they're a team pretty much like us. Their threat is easily eliminated because their threat comes from one particular side, which is Van Aanholt, Eze, and then Zaha. So if their threat is eliminated pretty simply, because obviously defensively we're going to have to be on point as we were yesterday, I feel like a win against Crystal Palace, if we continue on with that form, that formation, that style of play, you know, where we consistently attack but allow, that is because the attackers are forward and the defence is pretty solid and compact, then I feel like a win against Crystal Palace is quite doable. I can't believe I'm actually, you know, got hope for once that we're going to win. It's insane what is wrong with us. But yeah, Southampton, look, Hassan Huttle has done an unbelievable job there. Absolutely phenomenal. He's got them playing brilliant football. Their system is so concise. The attack, they have got some underrated players in players like Ward-Prowse, who is dead ball specialist at this point. Ings, again, come back from injury and back on form again. They just look brilliant. I really, really like Southampton. I like the way that Hassan Huttle has got them playing. So worryingly, that obviously, as I said, that game's my birthday. I really hope it's not a pamming. If it's a 1-0, I don't mind. Like, that is something I can take. God, I sound like Steve Bruce. That is something I can deal with. But if we can pull a draw out of Southampton, I will be over the moon. They've slightly lost form the past couple of games. Right now is a great time to play them. Even though, you know, that at this point they've got a lot more quality and a style of play than us. So yeah, I think Crystal Palace is a 3-pointer, hopefully, if we continue. And yeah, Southampton, I'll be over the moon with the draw. But if we don't get absolutely smashed, then I'm fine. But yeah, so I think 2-0 Crystal Palace. If we can score 2 past Everton, there's no reason why we can't score 2 past Crystal Palace. And I want to say 1-1 draw with Southampton, but I know it's probably going to be a Southampton win. But so I'll go 2-1 Southampton. But fingers crossed for fingers crossed that it's not.
Okay, great stuff. We are back tomorrow night. Match day live. We'll be live at 7:45 for the Crystal Palace match, which is live on BT, which means we've had to do a little bit of rejigging this week. So you've got a double header on Wednesday night. We've got Liam and myself at 6 till 7. Then we've got the Retro Show returning this week, 7 till 8, which will be Queen's Park Rangers games between Newcastle and Queen's Park Rangers. And then on Thursday night, it's normal service resumed. Myself and Supermac and John Gibson will be looking ahead to the weekend's fixtures, and then it'll be the Free Amigos on Friday night. Girls, absolute pleasure as always. Have a good week. I'll see you next Monday. Take care. Good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.